For 1 long year, he vanished. No uploads, no posts, not a single trace. Some said he quit.
That Peyturtle guy, he definitely quit YouTube. I haven't heard from him in so long. He definitely quit.
Others whispered.
Yeah, I don't think he's dead or anything. He may never post or show signs of being alive, but I think he's just, waiting.
Waiting for what?
Waiting for a moment. A sign. A spark. That spark was Kimochii Classroom. They say when the demo trailer dropped, he stirred in his slumber. By the time the full release hit, he was already gone, vanished into the wild to begin his training. Whether it be conversing with the characters from the game or taking his anger and sorrow out on one of them, he gained an insurmountable amount of knowledge. He studied the lore and more. From Radish ASMR to Kimochii Classroom, nothing would get past him. To the blind eye, he looked mad, as if he lost his mind. But to him, it was all making perfect sense. In some twisted way, Radish ASMR had become his obsession, his guiding light, his personal religion. And more so, something strange happened. One day, fan art appeared. Crude, glorious, unofficial. Glorpturtle, so mighty, so beautiful. That's when he knew it was time. He returns now, not just as a man, but as a myth, I guess? He returns now from his training to present the Uncovering of Kimochii Classroom.
And I will be your host, the one and only, the consistent YouTuber, Peyturtle. If you don't know who I am, welcome. If you do, welcome back. Today we shall be going over the visual novel / horror game Kimochii Classroom. I think it's fitting if we start off this video with its most bare bones question. What is Kimochii Classroom? Now, Kimochii Classroom is a visual novel made by Radish ASMR, who, if you don't know, is a YouTuber who makes ASMR videos with a whole lot of ARG elements sprinkled into them. Whether it be ciphers, audio stinger, jump scares, or even logs documenting an overarching narrative, Radish ASMR is a huge ARG that not everybody knows about, and it's a very good one at that. I have made 2 videos on Radish ASMR already, going over everything you really can about the series and the time frame that I uploaded it in. So it's fair to say that I know a decent amount about what goes on in this whole ARG. So then, what's up with Kimochii Classroom? Well, for starters, those who are more familiar with Radish's content might recognize that one of the characters in the game is actually someone we see often within their content. This girl here, Annabelle. She made her official debut in this video and has been the constant voice actor that we've seen throughout basically all of Radish's content aside from a few videos. So immediately just from this, you can see that there is some kind of connection between Radish's content and what goes on within Kimochii Classroom. But anyway, this game came out as a demo on December 4th, 2024, which was a bit surprising to some, but for those more familiar with the lore, we actually did get a small hint that something was going to happen on the 4th with this 04 that showed up in one of the videos. Now, we didn't really know exactly what the 04 meant, but some assumed that it had to do with the 4th of December, because that's kind of what stuff was leading up to. We also got another teaser of this game with this long-ass cipher that we got that after hours of effort produced this image of the Kimochii Classroom logo. And at the time, we obviously had no clue that it would turn out to be a full-blown visual novel, but here we are. So the demo dropped, people shocked, and everybody was left with more questions than answers. But flash forward to present time, the game has fully come out, and it is amazing. In a sense, it basically serves as a dummy's guide to Radish ASMR lore, but even for those who have been around the series since the beginning, this game has plenty of backstory explaining how Radish ASMR even started in the first place and filled in so many of the blanks that we couldn't even solve before. I suppose then I should probably go over the story of Kimochii Classroom for those who are unaware. But just know that this isn't a normal visual novel, and it isn't just some DDLC knockoff. I've seen plenty of comparisons with this game and Doki Doki, but this game isn't meant to be like that. It's a Radish ASMR story played out in visual novel format. So, with that building tension out of the way, let's get into the story of Kimochii Classroom. In my most recent Radish video, I had a section dedicated to going over the demo of the game along with a spoilers section. I won't be really doing that this time around because I'm going to go over the entirety of the story, spoilers included. Everything that I say that relates back to what goes on within Radish ASMR has some kind of spoilers tied into the game. So if you wanted to skip ahead to my connections section within this video, you're gonna get slapped with some pretty heavy spoilers. I say this because the game actually ended up being really good from a visual novel perspective and even better from a Radish ASMR lore enjoyer perspective. So please, if you find yourself wanting to try this game out before we get into the heavy spoilers of the game, then please just go play it for yourself. I promise you it is worth it. Or go watch someone else play it. Get that experience for yourself is what I'm saying. The game is about 12 hours long, give or take how slow or how fast you read, so naturally, this section of the video is going to be beefy, hence why this video in turn is so long. I felt the need to go over the story though for those who haven't played it yet or haven't watched it, so go ahead and get comfy, get a bowl of popcorn, get a video game rolling if you want to use me as background audio, as we are going to get to my audiobook / cliffhanger notes rendition of what goes on within Kimochii Classroom. Starting off with the first act in the series, the introduction. We start at the beginning on August 25th, 2015. Here we are introduced to our protagonist, Simon, and his best friend, Annabelle. Oh my god, it's Radish Annabelle! We get to learn about how Simon lives in his day-to-day life, mostly consisting of school and working at his part-time job. And at his job, we learn of two characters named Mayuka and Boss. For those who are familiar with the Radish lore, yes, Mayuka has appeared in one video before. This one, to be exact. And would you believe it, she gets cut off when trying to say the name of the listener.
Okay, real quick, listen. You can drop the miss every time you say my name. I'm not that much older than you. Just call me Mayuka. I promise it's fine. I mean, unless you want me to start calling you Mr. See? It feels weird, right?
Interesting. Now, Mayuka is a co-worker of Simon's and someone that a lot of people thirst over.
She's so hot.
Okay, it's a piece of paper.
She and Simon have a very well-written relationship, which is something I hadn't really truly appreciated until I finished the game. The dynamic between Mayuka and Simon is like a big sister to her little brother. Mayuka constantly teases Simon no matter what, and we even see a similar dynamic with that in The Boss. Now, I feel like for anyone who has actually played this game knows that hands down, the boss is the best character in the game, which really is a testament to how well written these characters are, that a side character can be up there, if not is there at the best characters in the game. He's so fun, so witty, has an amazing sense of humor, and truly cares about both Mayuka and Simon. In a way, he basically serves as a father figure for Simon, considering that throughout the entirety of the game, we get zero mention of where Simon's parents are, but I digress. Mayuka, Boss, and Simon all work at the Tumultuous Tap, which is a very nice looking bar. A great introduction to the characters Mayuka and Boss for sure. Anyway, after his shift ends, Simon makes his way back home and almost gets hit by a car.
Oh my... You can't do that to me, bro.
We meet another new character, and my personal favorite character, Chico. Chico is the GOAT. Now, if Boss is the best character written, Chico is the most perfect character. Now, that might make no sense, but just roll with me. Chico is Simon's younger sister. She loves playing the guitar, loves idols, loves singing, basically loves anything that's music related, and is an extremely great cook. Simon basically goes home to 5-star Michelin meals every night, which he is extremely grateful for. Throughout the entirety of the game, I would say that watching the relationship between these two characters was probably my favorite thing. We see just how deeply they care for one another, and it's just, I love these two! But that is really all we see for the first day in the game. An introduction of Annabelle, learning about Simon's part-time job at the Tumultuous Tap, along with the introduction of Mayuka and Boss, including the introduction of Chico as well. So I suppose we can say that August 25th is sort of an introduction day, but either way, let's move on to the next day. On August 26th, we get introduced to a new character, Felicia. She is definitely the most interesting and mysterious character within the game. I think that point stands out from what we got in the demo and even now with the full game out. Someone you don't really want to mess with. Not because she seemed scary or anything, but just because she was hard to understand. Fear of the unknown, I guess. Annabelle also fills us in that Felicia's last name is Arison, which in this town, or city, is extremely infamous. We will see more of that later on, but just know that Arison Corporation is a very well-known business within this game's lore, to the point where mostly everyone knows of the Arisons because of it, including Felicia. People know who Felicia is. But anywho, the day goes on like a typical slice of life styled visual novel would, and we get some small bonding moments with Chico and Annabelle, along with a very sensual scene of math with Annabelle, before we reach a point of concern, August 27th. On this day, Simon walks to school as usual, but something is amiss. Felicia is there, and her bag is thrown up into a tree. Simon, being the nice gentleman he is, monkey climbs his way into the tree and retrieves her bag and hands it back to her, to which she just nods and walks off.
But before I can finish what I'm saying, she nods her head slightly towards me before turning around and walking away. Not even a thank you? To the other side of the street. Okay.
What a strange interaction, to say the least. And when at school, we see that she is upset over something, rummaging around in her bag. Supposedly, she lost something. Is it any of our business? No. But this is Simon we're talking about, and everything is his business. So he decides to go on a mission to stalk Felicia and gather information out of pure curiosity, I guess. In doing so, he stumbles upon Felicia calling someone on the top of the school's roof using a flip phone. Honestly, this is the first red flag. Daughter of a wealthy, infamous company in the Arison Corporation, and yet she's using a flip phone? Could it be some kind of burner phone, just used to like commit crimes and talk secretly? Or are her parents just really protective of her and don't want to get brain rotted by TikTok and Instagram? Either way, he does catch something interesting from overhearing Felicia. The discussion, though we can't hear most of it, seems to be about something she lost, which could tie back into the fact that she was rummaging around in her bag earlier. She says she has two culprits in mind, one being one who she sees often, though is not familiar with, and two, a group of people that she has never seen before. So basically saying it could have been either us or some kind of mysterious group that we haven't seen yet. And she also says that she will handle the student if needed. Oh, what could she mean by that? Murder? In this day and age? Anyway, after that whole fiasco, the day continues on after Simon makes his grand escape by jumping off the roof, and he ends up back at his job at the Tumultuous Tap, which, wouldn't you believe it, actually has these three delinquents that are being all rowdy and causing up a scene. And to make it even better, they seem to have some kind of keychain with them, with the charm initials FA written on them. Felicia Arison? So these three dudes basically went up to Felicia, robbed her of her keychain somehow without her noticing, and tossed her bag way up into the tree just for the fun of it. Nice. So, we beat them up, of course, with the help of the boss and suffered an injury to the chin from one of them elbowing us. But we got the keychain! And it comes with a lot of teasing from Mayuka and boss because we basically just got into a fight all for a girl we didn't know. Understandable, honestly. But one thing stands out during this whole conversation. The conversation falls on talking about keeping Simon's job a secret from Chico because he doesn't want her to feel bad that Simon is paying for her club dues. Chico goes to a music club at her school, one that receives very little funding at that. But Simon decided to get this job to help pay those club dues so that everyone can still go there, though he wants to remain as an anonymous donor. He doesn't tell her because he doesn't want her to give up on her dreams. We haven't really seen enough at this point to fully understand what his mindset behind it is, but it seems like he just cares a lot about Chico and doesn't want her to give up on her passions from revealing this bit of information. Whether or not that's right or wrong to do isn't for us to really judge at the moment because we don't have the full picture, but carry on. The conversation, like I said, falls to talking about Chico, and Mayuka seems to change a bit, asking,
"How much do you care about this sister of yours?"
Huh? A very strange question coming from Mayuka. But then she follows it up and goes on a whole spiel calling Simon out for not telling her. Mayuka definitely cares about Simon, and she definitely has a lot more to her character than we know right now. That much is obvious, but it's interesting that this change, if you want to call it that, only happens within this conversation about Simon's sister. Maybe Mayuka went through something similar and she sees that within Simon? I guess we will see. Moving on though, we eventually go home and we see Chico again, and during one of our conversations, the name of an anime gets brought up called Kimochii Idol's Adventure. For those astute within the Radish ASMR lore might recognize the name immediately. The name Mirai Komachi appeared within a spectrogram in one of the videos, the full thing saying Mirai Komachi Idol's Adventure. So are these two things related? Why is it Kira and not Mirai? At least for now, I guess we can just assume that there's going to be a lot more things relating both Radish lore and Kimochii Classroom together. Which again just furthers the idea that this game has ties into what goes on within the channel's lore. Anyway, going back to school, Annabelle reminds us that she is going to a company event over the weekend since her dad is a CEO and is bringing Annabelle with her. Nothing really more is given about this event, so we go on about our day as usual, and the following day, August 29th, we actually get to watch an episode of Kimochii Idol's Adventure with Chico, though she did have to bribe Simon to watch it with her using breakfast as leverage. I mean, he did seem to actually enjoy the show, and the moment is honestly super sweet between the two of them. Again, I love the relationship between these two. The day goes on as normal. Simon chats it up with Annabelle before making his way over to his job, and before we know it, his shift ends and we get brought to the most tense scene in the game up until this point. We open our phone and we see a bunch of text messages and missed calls from Annabelle. Apparently, the business meeting Anna went to was actually set up for her to meet Felicia, and that the potential partner company is Arison. Annabelle talks about how she mentioned that we had something that looked like a keychain to Felicia, which changed the atmosphere in the room. And as we are walking and reading the frantic messages from Anna, we call her back to see what the hell is going on, where we get this. A person in the distance next to a car while Annabelle tells us that Felicia isn't on the property anymore and that she's coming home. And lo and behold, Felicia is here. We hang up on Annabelle and we begin chatting it up with Felicia. She snatches her keychain back after we hold it out and ask us one question.
And
Did you look?
After we respond, her face changes into this scary yandere looking face before she looks at us normally and just leaves off with the keychain. Clearly shaken up, Simon texts Annabelle back telling her that they will talk about everything on Monday and that he needs time for himself. I mean, I guess I don't really blame him considering that Felicia drove 2 hours back to find Simon to get this keychain back with that scary monotone voice of hers. But still, I don't know. I feel like Annabelle deserves to be in the loop after trying to get in contact with you so much. But the weekend goes by, and on Monday, August 31st, we get a complete shift in the game. One that nobody really expected. Simon is obviously still shaken up after the events of Saturday with what happened between him and Felicia, and rightfully so, tries to avoid talking to anyone on his way to school, going out of his way to avoid Chico as well. And when he gets to the school, enters his classroom, we are met with a different sight. People crowded around the desk in front of him. Talking to Annabelle, she seems relieved upon seeing us, but also alarmed, confused, and upon the person at the desk realizing that we are here, calls out for us. And wouldn't you believe it?
Hi, Simone. Good morning.
Huh? It is Felicia. But is it? What is going on here? What happened to the cold and collected Felicia? Why is she so warm and bubbly, especially after what happened in the alleyway? I feel like I should take the time here to tell you guys something important that I haven't done so up until this point, because this is actually where the demo of the game ended and where the full game begins. Yeah, we have a lot more to cover, which is the perfect segue into the second arc of this game, the beginning of the end. But like I was saying, there is actually a bonus scene that was added to the full game that I have to go over before we continue. That being, we can actually uncover what was in that keychain. In the demo, we didn't really have an option to mess with it. Simon basically just decided against it, but now we can, and it actually opens up, revealing a USB drive inside. A USB drive inside of a keychain? Putting the flash drive into our computer, we are met with a single file titled Arison with a bunch of folders with project names and people's names. We click on a file called the Reconstruction Procedure with an incident report summary on October 7th, 2007, way back before the game takes place. The report goes over a car accident that Felicia was in when she was about 10 or 11 years old, resulting in her being in critical condition. On approval from Mr. S. Arison, assumed to be Felicia's dad, they decided to take action to recover what was most needed from Felicia, even though the procedure itself was mostly theoretical and was high risk. Felicia was the first patient in the reconstruction procedure, and a replacement vessel under the name Cambridge was acquired shortly after the decision was made. Simon scrolls a bit more to see an image of two girls sitting in hospital beds, diagrams of a brain, surgical wounds, and procedures for erasing identities? It's hard to tell since the sentence gets cut off, but it sounds like Felicia had been a part of some kind of experiment to save her life. What is the Cambridge vessel? Is there some kind of mind swapping going on here? What is the procedure erasing? This is probably the most lore drop we've gotten within the game so far, and it's something that comes up later in the game, so I kinda had to go over it. Moving back to present time, on Monday, August 31st, we actually go out with Felicia to a small restaurant called the Flowery Respite. The entire time, it's a complete shock to both Simon and the player that Felicia is acting like this. It's a complete 180 to her previous personality. Does it have something to do with what we saw on the flash drive? Is it all a tactic to just get on Simon's good side? I mean, for what? It's hard to really tell, but at the restaurant we actually see that Mayuka is working here as well. Seemingly surprised to see us, then immediately assumes that we are on a date with Felicia. I didn't say it before, but the last time Mayuka saw us, her and the boss actually gave us the idea that we should use a love letter to explain to Felicia how we obtained her keychain. So in her mind right now, she is probably assuming that their idea worked and that we are actually on a date with Felicia. Wow. But overall, the day went well, all things considered. Felicia seemed apologetic about the whole altercation in the alleyway, though there was definitely still some lingering suspicion about her, and we made our way back home. Here we talked to Annabelle about literally everything that happened on Saturday, considering we told her off after everything went down that we would explain it on Monday. Here we tell her about the flash drive that we found, though I don't think Simon actually tells her the complete truth about it. I get he doesn't want to involve Anna in any of the problems that would come about from looking at the flash drive, but He straight up downplays what he finds in the flash drive, and I am sure as hell that Annabelle would be more than happy to go through the hell that would come about looking at the flash drive with Simon, because she is just that goated. But anyway, we move past Monday and Tuesday to Wednesday, September 2nd, which is a fairly normal day for Simon, all things considered, with Felicia.
Hi, Simone.
Though there is really only one thing of note. At work, Simon talks with Mayuka about Felicia, considering that he had no idea that she was even working at the Flowery Respite or anywhere else apart from the tumultuous tap. He had plenty of questions for her. Here we learn a bit more about the relationship between Felicia and Mayuka. She tells Simon that about a year ago, Felicia had started going to the cafe every couple of days. She always sat down in the same spot away from everyone else and always had a serious expression on her face. One day, she came in looking very distressed. After accidentally spilling some coffee, Mayuka cleans it up and Felicia asks her if she can just stay there with her. Mayuka, being the sweetheart she is, obliges and sits with her. And though they don't talk, Felicia seems to be suffice with the company. Even Mayuka's manager gave her a thumbs up, realizing that she was sitting with the Felicia Harrison. Again, a callback to how infamous these people are. To the point where even her manager texted her saying to do whatever she needed to make Felicia happy. And after that moment, Felicia would always ask for Mayuka every time she stopped by. Which I think it is interesting to note that in the moments after she stops talking about that story, she teases Simon about the sudden change in Felicia's personality. She notes that she was cold, serious, and closed off before, but deems the new shift in personality to Simon going out with her. Even if Mayuka is purely just teasing him, I think she has genuine reason to believe the sudden change in personality to finding a special someone, even if that isn't truly the case. I just say this here because I feel like the writing is kinda perfectly set up for something like this to happen. Simon is literally cornered in every way possible where he cannot explain any reason for Felicia's sudden shift in personality. So of course, the logical explanation for Mayuka is just that they're going out together. It makes sense. But anywho, 2 days later, we get the first horror scene of the game. Test day. I don't wanna. Akemi, why? Akemi, why? Why, Akemi, why? I don't wanna do it, Akemi. I don't wanna. You can't make me, Akemi. You can't do it. You can't do it, Akemi. You can't. You can't. This is where all my gameplay is going. Right here. I can't even play the rest of the game because I have to do that. Aside from that, it's another hangout day with the girlies, and not gonna lie, Felicia really won over my heart here. I'm falling into the trap, guys. You know what? I don't care. I'm on the Felicia bandwagon. I don't care. I don't care. She is perfect. Felicia, stop it! I know you're gonna break my heart later. Don't. Oh my god. You know what? I'm a Felicia lover. I'm a Felicia lover now. And just like that, September 5th rolls around, which is actually the first real big choice of the game, apart from whether you decide to mess with the keychain at the beginning of the game or not. Here is where the game splits off in two directions. They lead back to one another in the end, but it's a decision on whether you want to go with Chico to an idol convention or whether you want to go with Felicia and Annabelle to a festival. To me, this was one of the easiest choices of the game. Of course I am going with Chico. I'm sorry guys, but I'm spending time with my amazing sister. The day is full of bonding with Chico, and it's honestly really sweet. She's so full of energy and genuinely just wants Simon to have a good time as well, writing errands for him to do while she waits in line to meet the creator of Kimochii Idol's adventure because she wants him to experience what it's like at an idol convention. I related to this section in the game quite a lot because I went to Anime Expo in 2023 and I had an absolute blast. I can feel that same energy from Chico here, and I loved the writing. But anyway, after we complete our errands, we run into someone who just so happens to give us one of the items that Chico was looking for, a limited edition Kimochii Idol's Adventure shirt. And wouldn't you know it, it's actually the same spectrogram as the Mirai Komachi one. So, I guess this just further adds into the ties between Radish ASMR and Kimochii Classroom. But why is Mirai Komachi showing up specifically within Radish ASMR? Like, why couldn't it be Kira Komachi? Why does it have to be this limited edition shirt? I guess for now, we can't really answer that. So let's just continue. The day ends with a banger concert with Chico and Annabelle, where Chico says some pretty important lines here.
Her eyes still completely fixed on the band in front of us.
Ooh.
She closes her eyes and screams out,
Yeah, she's gonna light up the world and become an idol, huh? Sounds pretty similar to a certain Akemi, huh? If you have no idea what I'm talking about there, don't worry, I'll discuss it in great detail later on. But yeah, the concert is really good. The music here is phenomenal, the art is beautiful, and genuinely was just a great scene to watch. And after that's all over, we skip to Wednesday, September 9th. I think before I go over that though, I should probably talk about what happens if you chose to go to the festival instead. Felicia and Annabelle are both dressed casually and everybody does basic festival activities. Throwing balls, getting chocolate and food, and before you know it, Annabelle has to leave to meet up with Chico at the convention. So she dips and you are left one-on-one with Felicia. Here is where things get really interesting. After you tell Felicia that she could be true to who she really is, a somewhat switch happens within her and she starts acting a lot more bubbly than before, dragging you around from stall to stall, playing games and eating food. It's cute. But it's a little alarming with what we've seen in her personality so far. But eventually, she brings us over to a spot in the woods where we get a beautiful CG of Felicia and a bunch of fireworks. Here's the first time we see Felicia really change. And after you even call her Felicia, she gets all pouty, telling you to stop calling her that already, saying to call her Lily, like usual. Lily? Lily? What? And even more confusing, she says,
You're the best, Yu.
before she suddenly snaps back to reality and goes through some kind of mental breakdown.
My head. It hurts.
We catch her before she falls to the ground, and after she recuperates, we ask her about what just happened and why she called us Yu, to which she explains that Yu is a nickname she used for one of the staff at the Arison residence. And after some more explaining, the whole thing just gets dropped, and we are left scratching our heads. So now we have even more names tied back to Felicia. We have Lily, Yu, Cambridge. Why is she so mysterious? What exactly is Felicia? Why did she call herself Lily? So many thoughts, but we have to keep going. The days go by as usual, and on September 24th, we learn from Mayuka that the bar isn't doing too well because of a rival one that opened up nearby. We even get this one-on-one with her at the Flowery Respite, where she talks about her problems with the boss. To her, the boss is someone she looks up to, and it's her reason for becoming a bartender. She sees all of this happening and thinks that there is no good reason for someone like the boss to be doing this all by himself. So she drinks over it and talks to us about her problems with the bar itself, and how she's been trying to help fix the financial problem with him to little result. It's pretty sad knowing that the bar isn't doing too hot, knowing how great of people the boss and Mayuka are. And it's even sadder when the following day we get probably the saddest scene in the entire game up until this point. Annabelle comes over for a usual homework session with Simon. It's a pretty nice bonding moment between the two of them until Annabelle gets serious for a moment. She starts venting to him, talking about how her dad is neglectful and how he spends more time with his work than he does with her. She blames herself for this because she pushed for him to get into that position and is now met with the result of basically being abandoned by her father. And even more, he even applauds her for getting closer with Felicia because he sees it as more of a business opportunity than something being actually genuine. He sees that just as being in the Arison's good graces because that is most beneficial for public outlook and reputation, not even considering the idea that Annabelle might be friends with Felicia because she wants to be. And so she cries with Simon comforting her, venting out all of her frustrations. It's a pretty powerful scene, and it's extremely well written. I definitely got a little choked up when I first played through it, but after a time skip to Tuesday, October 6th, we see Simon go through his normal day-to-day. Apart from his day-to-day turning a bit different, now having to hand out flyers to get people to come to the bar since there's so little traction, we tell Anna about her problems at night, explaining to her the situation with the bar. Like the amazing friend she is, she derives a plan to help us with the bar. Conveniently, there is a company gathering between the Arisons and Annabelle's family to celebrate their partnership, and they are in need of a bartender, since I guess the most recent one had a dispute over payment. So Annabelle tells us the next day that she will give us her dad's number and to call him about it. After discussing the plan the following day with the gang, the boss calls Annabelle's dad and they talk it out, to which they get the green light. Annabelle really is the GOAT. There isn't too much notable between this moment here and going to the event itself, apart from midterms, and on Saturday, October 10th, Party Day comes around. The inside of the venue is super nice, though Simon had to go on a train for 2 hours to get to the place. I don't think I've said it much yet, but the art style in this game is genuinely phenomenal. I love it. Anyway, after a bit of shenanigans, Annabelle eventually comes up to the stage to talk to the audience. She thanks them for coming, and we actually get a name drop for her dad's company, Misdemean Technology. Whether that means something or not is still to be seen. After that, she introduces an orchestra coming up playing a song called A Flower Reborn with a special guest, Felicia Arison. Felicia, after being brought out a box, opens it and takes out a violin. And when she starts playing, we get this song. To some, this song is just a beautiful, melancholic piece, one filled with unspoken emotion. But for those who are more familiar with Radish lore, might recognize the music from many videos, from the side channels to her 5K subscriber milestone, to a video where Annabelle is literally getting a hole drilled into her head. Supposedly. This song has been featured so many times within Radish's content, and here it is, being played by Felicia and an orchestra behind her. What does it all mean? Well, to put that moment on a pause, I would say that this is a good moment to break this section of the story into another arc, considering from here on out, things start to ramp up in more than one way. But for a little recap of what just happened, because I know I'm kind of going through information really fast, we started this off by looking at a bonus scene that was added in the full game with the keychain, how you can actually open it up. And there we learn about the reconstruction procedure and a replacement vessel for Felicia named Cambridge. After that, it was mostly world building with the whole restaurant stuff with the flowery respite, how Mayuka works there, how Mayuka explains bar troubles that are going on there, how she vents to Simon about what's going on with the boss, and we also got the options to choose between going to the festival or going with Chico to the Idol concert or convention. Along with that, we got a lot more showing into Annabelle's humanity with her vulnerability and frustrations with her father, but also her immense loyalty and support towards everyone else around her. And then lastly, we get our big party day with the whole A Flower Reborn song being played by Felicia on violin. It's a lot of foreshadowing because it could signal deeper lore connections between what goes on within this game and Radish ASMR. But with that little recap out of the way, I hope you guys can kind of follow along with what's going on. I know this game has a lot of stuff, and I kind of have to pack it all into one little recap section, so I'm trying to make it as clear and I'm trying to be as transparent as possible when explaining the events that go on within the game, but also keeping it like flowing at a good pace as well. So if it doesn't feel good, then I would love to get like feedback about that stuff, because it's been a little tough writing the script for this game considering how much, content we have on it. So yeah, other than that, let's get into the third arc of the story. The last one before we get into heavy spoilers. Things are getting heated. If you remember back to what Felicia said during the festival scene, it's interesting how she said her name was Lily, huh? Lilies are a type of flower that are often associated with purity and innocence. There are even some websites that talk about black lilies, which don't actually exist in the wild, but symbolically they represent transformation or rebirth. The fact that the song that Felicia plays on violin is called A Flower Reborn could tie into the fact that Lily has been reborn as Felicia, as we can clearly see that something happened with Felicia with the whole flash drive debacle, that she was placed in a vessel called Cambridge. So what is going on with Felicia? There's definitely more to this character that we have information for so far. We have so many floating pieces right now surrounding Felicia as a character, but we cannot connect them all just yet. So let's just continue. As the event comes to a close, everybody begins to leave. Simon, on the other hand, is extremely antsy to get out of there, considering that it's almost midnight and the last train leaves at midnight. After packing away their things in Boss's car, Boss offers a ride back to Mayuka and Simon if they need it, to which Mayuka says she's all good, while Simon, not wanting to impede on the boss, declines his offer. And after they all leave, Simon books it to the train station. Wouldn't you know it, he misses the train. But Mayuka, being the ever so perceptive woman, comes to save the day, arriving there as Simon contemplates just sleeping on the bench so he can catch the train in the morning. The two of them make it to where Mayuka is staying for the night, and after Mayuka gets into some more comfy clothes, they have an argument about Simon's sister. Again. Well, not just about his sister this time. She chastises him for always wanting to go out of his way for others, but never wanting to impede on anyone, telling him that there was no reason for him to decline the boss's ride back when he lives in the same town as him, that it would maybe have made him happy to have driven Simon back. She relates what Simon is doing back to how he doesn't seem to trust Chico, which ticks him off. The two of them go back and forth about the subject, and I can't help but side with Mayuka. Mayuka seems to have a deeper reason for wanting to get this point across to Simon, considering that this has literally happened twice so far where Mayuka asked the question, why don't you trust her? She truly cares for Simon and sees something within his situation that relates back to something that she went through. As if wanting to protect him, she chastises him for making the decision not to tell Chico, as if he didn't trust her, when in reality it would make a greater rift form between the two if she did happen to find out without him telling her. It's a very real argument that they are having right now, and the writing here is honestly very good. All in all, the argument slowly dies down after their food arrives, but it still leaves a lingering thought in Simon's head. But the next day comes around and Simon makes his journey back home. We stop by a store on our way home and we end up picking up a guitar from King Grant for Chico. Even though this scene is mostly just reading on a blurred background, the conversation between Grant and Simon are honestly wonderful. Eventually though, we make it back home and we skip to Thursday, October 15th, where we get our midterm results. We place number 14th and we actually get a last name drop. Simon Ito. I don't know if there's any significance behind the last name Ito, but I feel like it was included for a reason, so I'm not gonna just skim past that. But later that night, Annabelle texts us and invites us on a little one-on-one hangout to celebrate finishing midterms. The next day around, we begin our hangout with Annabelle in the park, and god damn the music in here. This event is full of cute moments and fun bonding between Simon and Annabelle, something that I am very happy to see, honestly. Considering that the only bonding, if you even want to call it that we've done with Annabelle up until this point consisted of doing math problems, bonding over neglectful parents, and bonding with her and Felicia. It's a nice change of pace for sure, to have a nice one-on-one moment with her after all this time. And after some talking, she brings us to an opening in the woods, which leads to an amazing cinematic where we get the first reveal of what Simon looks like. A lot of people were kind of off-put by how his eyes look. I mean, I don't mind it that much, but I did not like the comment that said his eyes looked like they were behind his skin. I mean, damn, that's just gross. Anyway, the two of them smooch it up and Annabelle properly confesses to him. It's a very cute scene and one that made me jam out with how loud the music was over Anna's voice. But it's official now, guys. Surely nothing will go wrong, right? Right? Anyway, after the scene ends, we get brought to the aftermath of the confession with Annabelle. The two of them talk it up, but one of the things that stand out the most is the fact that what Annabelle says here is straight up out of one of the transmission videos on Radish's channel. Transmission 3000 to be exact.
You know what I mean, dummy. What made you decide to come talk to me that night?
Whoa!
Was it my gorgeous looks?
Oh.
What? You weren't supposed to agree with me.
Oh.
I'm being serious here. So, why'd you take that first step? You know what I mean, dummy. Or maybe this come talk to me that night. Gorgeous looks. What? You weren't supposed to agree with me.
On top of this, the scene they are describing, referring back to when they first met, is the same scenario for the video we got when we were first introduced to Annabelle on Radish ASMR. There are so many ties right now back to Radish ASMR, but the conversation ends with us telling Annabelle that we know what we're gonna tell Chico, and so we make our way back home. At home, we are met with Chico hanging out in the living room, and here we get the option to either tell Chico the truth about everything or if we want to keep it a secret from her. I will say, choosing either of these options doesn't result in much when it comes to the ending of the game, but it does affect what you get the following day, that being Chico's concert. If you choose to tell her the truth, she and her band will play the fourth song she was working towards, with you and Annabelle holding your hands up together in the air to Chico, a sign that the two of you got together with each other after all this time. The fourth song plays out, Chico runs to find us in the crowd, and we get this very cute CG. If you choose to hide the truth, Chico is visibly saddened by the fact of the idea, as if she already knew the truth and just wanted to hear it from us. The concert rolls around and she and the band end their performance after just the third song, and we don't get the cute CG. The two routes are worth going down just to hear the music alone, because it's two separate songs for whatever choice you make. So it's definitely worth to go down to hear the music alone. I feel like Angelina did an amazing job singing in this section, along with Arclight, I assume it's Arclight, making the instrumentals for these songs. They're phenomenal. But I thought that going the route of not telling her the truth made everything feel so much worse, considering what happens at the end of the game. Very subtle foreshadowing, I guess. Anyway, though, if you are a reasonable person and you choose to tell her the truth, you get met with this CG after the concert ends with all of them in a little group hug. And just as it fades to black, the game ends. No, it doesn't. It's just a fake out. I'm sure that you could tell that if you just see the runtime of this video. You know that this story is far from over. And in fact, it's only gonna get more concerning. The first thing to note is that when we come out of the credits, we are met with a black screen that transitions us into Tuesday, November 3rd. Now, if you can see by my reaction here, November is a very important date within the Radish lore, as it's the first time that we get logs ever brought up within the series, that being on November 18th, which states, as of the time of writing, the patient has undergone 3 days of preliminary examination. So that gives us until November 15th to see if anything happens that could result in any kind of patient undergoing preliminary examinations, whatever that is supposed to mean. To me, this is when it started feeling like the end times of the game here, and it truly was. But before we go on, we have to see what happens during this day. Other than getting the reveal that Chico's birthday is on December 4th, which just so happens to be the same day as this Radish video here, and also the same day that the demo of Kimochii Classroom released, we also get a huge lore dump from the boss. And I mean huge. So sit down and relax and just listen as I tell you what he says. The boss starts off by asking Simon if Mayu appeared off recently. Simon says, yeah, kinda, referring to the argument that the two of them had regarding a sister, and he decides to ask how they first met one another. The boss explains his backstory behind the two of them meeting, saying that he's been taking care of Mayuka since she was just 14 years old. He's worried about her, and he feels like she's going back into old habits, and confides in Simon, hoping that he could somehow make her open up. Here is where we get a huge lore dump of what happens with Mayuka's backstory, so buckle up. Boss explains that Mayuka isn't her real name. That her real name is actually Olivia, named after her mother. When Mayuka was just 8 years old, her mother went missing, and less than a year later, her father took his own life, unable to handle the loss of his wife and his unstable daughter, leaving Mayuka completely alone. Mayuka's mother's death was also suspected to be of foul play, to which the boss will talk about why. But that's already a lot to take in, so let's just settle for a moment. Mayuka's real name is Olivia, named after her mother. Both of her parents are dead, her father from suicide and her mother from suspected foul play. All when Mayuka was just 8 years old. A crazy start to her backstory, but I will say it gets even deeper. 4 months prior to Mayuka's mother's disappearance, her aunt, Mariah, went missing as well. I keep relating it back like this, but for those who are unaware, this is a huge reference to what we see within Radish ASMR's lore. To make it brief, Radish ASMR has these side channels that have uploaded content relating back to the lore of what goes on within Radish ASMR. People like J. Tristan, B. Andrea, M. Logan are all examples of people who were part of a group called the 10 Failures, assumed to be failures in some kind of experiment within the Radish lore. And what would you know, 2 of those 10 failures just happened to be K. Mariah and K. Olivia, Mayuka's aunt and Mayuka's mother. It might not seem crazy to you if you haven't followed Radish ASMR, but for someone like me, this is a huge lore drop. The fact that we get names from the 10 failures within the game just shows how connected that this game is to the Radish lore. But enough of that. Let's get back to the backstory. Boss explains that for almost a year after her mother's disappearance, Mayuka would sneak off in the night and often refuse to stay at any sort of public institution for children without a home. It wasn't until a family friend of hers offered to take Mayuka in that she was going through all of that. That friend of Mayuka was Lillian. There are 2 things here. One of the 10 failures' name is a Lilia. Whether or not Lillian is the same as that failure is hard to say, but 2, Felicia called herself Lily in the fireworks scene and referred to Simon as Yu, which just so happens to be oddly close to Mayu. Is Felicia Mayuka's childhood friend? Well, let's continue. The boss explains how Lillian was actually his granddaughter, was being the key word. He goes on to tell Simon her full name. Lillian Cambridge. Yeah, you heard that right. Cambridge. The same Cambridge we just so happened to get reference to all the way back in the flash drive scene. So, Cambridge was Felicia's vessel for after she gotten into a car crash. Do the Arisons just take people for these experiments? They just find people to take to help for their own benefit? I don't know. I'll definitely talk a lot more about this in a moment, but let's continue and let's hear what Boss says. He explains how Mayuka and Lillian went to the same elementary school together and how Lillian was 3 years younger than her. After seeing how Mayuka was struggling with her living situation, Lillian asked her parents if she could live with them, to which they said yes. The boss goes on to say that at the time, she didn't know much about Mayuka and was actually against it when his daughter mentioned adopting her. Again, just to reiterate, Lillian Cambridge is the boss's granddaughter, so Lillian's mother would be the boss's daughter. just in case anyone is iffy on the math, because I know damn well I was at first. The boss explains that Lillian has been missing for over 7 years, meaning that she's been missing at the very least since 2008, because right now we are in October of 2015. And you know what else? The date written in the log we saw on the flash drive detailing Felicia needing Lillian as a vessel takes place in October of 2007, 8 years ago from this moment. So, vessel, then. What does that mean? Does it mean it in a literal sense, where Lillian was used as a body for Felicia's consciousness? I'm not sure if that's the case, because at that point, I feel like Mayuka might recognize her. I mean, I guess it's hard to say since the Arisons have been around for a while, and Felicia has been next up for who knows how long. I'm sure that people could see young Felicia suddenly looks different to how she did before after the car crash, if that was the case. So maybe then it's a consciousness swap then. I don't know. This part here is probably the most confusing aspect of the whole Felicia/Lillian stuff, so I won't harp on it too much since we have a lot more stuff to get through. Boss explains that Mayuka got into a lot of trouble since her mom went missing, never fully accepting the idea that she was dead. She was always looking for new information, always trying to get some kind of lead, even at the cost of allowing horrible people to damage her mind and body in the process, to the point where the boss can't even believe that she survived. Lillian convinced her to finally stop, and she slowly gained some of her happiness back. Mayuka, or Olivia at the time, said that she wanted to change her name to start over, so Lillian picked out her new name, Mayuka. Boss found himself seeing her a lot more regularly, since she was now living with his daughter and son-in-law, and eventually she began acting like a kid again. It was around 2 years after that Lillian disappeared, around when Mayuka was just 10 years old, putting Lillian at about 7 years old at the time of her disappearance. Extremely gruesome. What makes it even worse is that since Mayuka never really stopped searching for her mom, Lillian realized something was wrong but never could get Mayuka to talk about it. She saw that Mayuka was keeping something very important from her, leaving Lillian to understandably feel hurt that Mayuka didn't trust or believe in her. So in an effort to prove to Mayuka that she was strong enough to help, she left a note detailing something about a place that Mayuka was planning on visiting and that she wanted to help her big sis Yu. Basically just confirms everything I just talked about a little earlier with the whole fireworks scene with Felicia talking about Yu and Lily. But let's continue. After that, Lillian never came back, no matter how much the police searched. There was a lingering resentment towards Mayuka after that from Lillian's parents, who were fostering her, even if they never outright blamed her. But then, during Mayuka's 14th birthday, the boss came over to their house, wanting to give her a present. And when he arrived, there was so much screaming. He knew that he needed to get Mayuka out of there. So he took Mayuka and left, telling his daughter and son-in-law that he was taking her in. He ends the conversation pleading with Simon to help her in any way that he can to think of, to which Simon says he will do whatever he can. So, huge lore drop. To sum it up, just so we're all following along, Mayuka's real name is Olivia, named after her mother who went missing since she was 8. Her father later died by suicide, leaving her completely alone. Around that same time, Mayuka's aunt, Mariah, also vanished, both her mom and aunt being tied to the 10 failures from the Radish lore. Mayuka, or Olivia at the time, lived on her own until Lillian Cambridge, her best friend and the boss's granddaughter, convinced her family to finally take her in. Lillian gave Olivia her new name, Mayuka, as a way to start fresh, but when Lillian tried to help Mayuka search for her mother to prove that she was strong enough to help Mayuka confide in her, she disappeared too. at just 7 years old, never to return. This left Mayuka scarred, resented by Lillian's grieving parents, and eventually taken in by the boss himself when she was just 14. Boss now worries that she's slipping back in old destructive habits, which is why he confides in Simon, hoping that he can reach her. If you need a second to breathe, I understand. You can pause the video, take a breather, do whatever you need, because it's a lot of information to take in. But for those who are wanting more, we shall jump back into the swing of things in probably the most concerning way possible. After all that happened within the scene, Simon leaves the bar to a raging storm outside, and upon opening his phone, sees that he has many missed messages and calls from Anna and Chico. Anna says,
"Oh, there's someone following me. Call the police. They won't answer."
Calling Anna frantically, we are met with Chico, who seems to be extremely frantic and tells us to come home as fast as we can. After almost getting run over by another car, we make it home, entering into the house as fast as we can. Nobody's in the living room, so we run upstairs to Chico's room and throw the door open, to which we see both Annabelle and Chico. They are okay, though very shaken up from something that happened. We ask what happened, and Chico says that she thinks someone attacked Annabelle, since Annabelle can't seem to talk right now with how shaken up she is. She goes on to explain that neither of their phones could call the police, that none of their calls were going through. Simon tries himself and gets through, talking with an operator, and upon trying to get Annabelle's attention, Annabelle collapses, and Simon desperately says, "Please come help soon, I think they hurt her." Which, for those who don't know, is a phrase that was broken and thrown apart between the side channels. All 10 failures had some kind of word attached to them, and when scrambling them together, you get that sentence right there. What does it all mean? Why is that phrase specifically on the side channels? What does that say about what's going on right now? Well, for now, the paramedics and police get there and ask questions to both Chico and Simon. Chico explains the situation to the best of her ability, and Simon explains the events that we just went through. And after all of that, everybody goes into the ambulance as we head to the hospital. Within the hospital, Annabelle eventually comes to, and we all hug it out. It's bittersweet, but it's nice seeing just how much they all love and care for one another. And after their crying bits end, Anna starts to explain what happened to her. She says that she and Chico were watching TV and saw one of the characters eating a parfait. They thought it would be fun to make one, so Annabelle went to get the ingredients from the store. She heard some kind of noise a ways behind her, like someone was following her, until she collapsed with a sudden pain in her back that felt like 2 little spikes, leaving her shaking and unable to speak. She heard footsteps approaching, followed by a bunch of shouting, and she felt like she could move again, so she took her chance and ran. So we have no idea what these people look like who did this to her, but we know that what happened to Annabelle resulted in her collapsing to the ground, leaving her shaking and unable to move. Was she tased? Well, as we dwell on that, the night ends with Annabelle staying over for the night in Chico's room, and upon the next day coming around, we find out that it is now Saturday, November 14th, one day before the first Radish log takes place. And this is a good place to stop for the moment. I told you before, and I will tell you again, that this video will contain heavy spoilers for what happens within Kimochii Classroom. I felt that without going into the spoilers, people watching this video wouldn't understand why the game has left such an impact on me and many others, along with how it relates back to what we see within Radish ASMR. If you are interested at all in the game, from what I've been telling you, I would highly recommend playing the game for yourself or watching someone else play it. Even from just this section on, if you don't want to watch all the content, because this is where the game starts showing its true colors. If you don't mind getting spoiled and you want to hear my audiobook rendition of what happens within the game, I will happily go over for you. If you don't want to get spoiled, I would recommend, watching it yourself, playing it yourself, and then coming back here to see what my commentary is on it, because this is going to contain the heaviest of spoilers within this game. Just giving you a warning beforehand. Here we go. So we continue into November 14th. Chico is getting some band practice in with her group and walks home with Kiki. As she's walking home, there's a slight rustle in the bushes, and I swear my heart sank here. Considering everything that's happened with Annabelle, it makes sense to be on edge. And as if on cue, Chico gets tased right beside Kiki. After collapsing to the ground, she tries to move to no avail and remembers what Annabelle said in the hospital. This was the exact same situation. Realizing that they were going for Kiki next, Chico somehow finds the strength to get up for a moment, telling her to get the hell out of there and ask for help. Kiki runs off and promises to get help, to which Chico is left without any help and any energy. She lays there as someone gets closer, saying she's not ready to go. And then, yeah, that guy appears in the frame. I still don't really know what this guy is, but this is the full image. Yeah, it's a little spooky. And after that happens, we come back to Annabelle and Simon chatting it up, having a great time, completely oblivious to what just happened to Chico until Anna's eyes go wide, clearly shaken up from something that she saw on her phone. Getting a look at the phone, we are met with a message from an unknown number.
You have my thanks, Miss Annabelle. You led me right to her.
Oh, all right, what the hell? This message sparks something in Simon and leads to his running arc, telling Anna to stay there as he goes to search for Chico. He runs off and runs to where Chico's school is, and he talks to the police, eventually getting a ride back, but he doesn't go home, and he tries to find her himself, eventually just tiring himself out and collapsing on the ground after running around everywhere. Mayuka ends up stumbling upon him and takes him into her home, comforting him and telling him that he can't just be rash and run off for his sister not knowing where she is. And just like that, days go by. Weeks go by. No update from the police. Chico is long gone. We arrive to Friday, December 11th. Simon is almost unrecognizable from who he once was before. Not answering calls, not going outside, not even responding to Felicia's messages. Completely closed off and isolated. Upon hearing a knock at the door, he goes to check who it is, not really in the mood to entertain whoever it is on the outside. To his surprise, though, it's Annabelle. And she actually has some new information, though she seems very reluctant and scared to tell us. Though after she builds up some courage, she taps something on her phone, where we get audio.
Simone! Annabelle! It's Chico! Please! I got my phone back! I don't know where I am, but I have coordinates. But before I say anything, please, whatever you do, don't send the police after me. This place I'm in, I think if the police show up, they'll notice and take me somewhere else. But if it's just one or two people, I think I can get you in without anyone noticing. Simone, please, save me from this place.
It's supposedly Chico. She says she doesn't know where she is, but she has coordinates, not to call the police, saying that if it's just one or two people, she can just get them in. And she begs to have Simon save her before the audio gets cut off from Annabelle. Simon immediately wants to go find Chico, but Annabelle is desperate to get Simon to see clearly, distraught that she could potentially lose him as well if he decides to go on some kind of suicide mission to find her. She tries and tries to reason with him, explaining how the message itself doesn't make any sense, considering that Chico has been missing for a month beforehand, and how she said to not send the police. Annabelle actually did call the police about it as well, which Simon seemed ticked off about, but Anna rips into him, showing just how much she cares. She says that he never thinks about himself, that he never thinks about how Anna cares about him, and that losing him would bring even a greater pain. And this doesn't even mention the guilt she would feel, considering that she probably already feels immense guilt with the whole text message she received saying that she led them to Chico in the first place. If Simon went next after telling him this information, she would undoubtedly feel miserable. And as they hug it out and sleep holding each other, Simon waits until she's fully asleep before going behind her back and watching the full video to get the coordinates, leaving a note on the table. He makes the 2-hour trip to the coordinates and and journeys through a scary-looking forest. You'd think he'd turn back at this point, but he is so steadfast on finding Chico that he doesn't care, even talking about how Chico never called Annabelle Annabelle, but always referred to her as Annie whenever talking to her, which put the credibility of whether or not that was really Chico in the voice message to even more suspicion. But of course, he didn't care, even if it was a trap. Simon makes his way to the coordinates and finds an abandoned looking cabin with no cops or anything around. Did Annabelle really call the police, or did they never show up? Where are they? And not thinking about it, Simon makes his way inside and searches around the broken cabin. In one room, he finds a stain of blood on a bed trailing to the ground, and upon looking at where it led, he finds Chico's phone in a pool of blood. Upon going back into the living room, he finds that a panel has been moved in the floorboards, thinking someone is messing with him. He doesn't care anymore. He makes his way over to the floorboard and moves it, finding that it leads to a staircase stretching into the ground. And going down the stairs, the texture changed to concrete that leads into a large hallway. Making his way through, it looks like it's a whole facility under the cabin, though there are no lights, the dead ends, and overall looking just as abandoned as the cabin itself. And after he makes his way around and getting jump scared by a gray rectangle, he chases after it, surprised at just how fast it is. And then a dead end with a thin opening in the wall. He makes his way through and jogs down a path, finding the ground turning from concrete to carpet, and is met with a door at the end of the path. He tries to open the door to no avail, but out of nowhere, the door beeps and slides open, and is met with He charges through the door, knowing it isn't Chico, and upon the lights turning on, yeah, Chico is absolutely dead. The scene plays out with Simon collapsing to the ground, throwing up seeing what happened to his sister. It's a gruesome sight, only enhanced by someone who he knows voice coming from the darkness. And lo and behold, Felicia stands there, arms crossed, emotionless. Simon can't help but to ask why, to which Felicia says that once we looked at the flash drive, it was all over. And by the way, she was totally lying here. If you don't look at the flash drive at the beginning of the game, instead of getting this confrontation bit playing out, you actually just get hit with a baseball bat on the head. No matter what you did, you still end up here, and Chico still ends up in that chair. Anyway, back to it. Simon asked the obvious question to Felicia. Why involve Chico? It makes sense considering that Chico was the furthest person from someone who should get involved in a spot like this, and yet, here she is. Felicia explains coldly that Chico was used to get Simon here, and that is all. That seemed to snap something inside Simon because he gets up and is ready for a fight, ending up beating up one of Felicia's guards and caving their skull in with his foot. Upon dealing with the threat, he turns to Felicia, demanding answers. Was everything fake? Was her change in personality all a lie? Was it all a lie for her to get him there? Was she ever truly their friend? Felicia calmly states that it was all just in order to befriend Simon, that everything that came with it was all an act. Simon calls her out on that and starts confronting her in his own way, calling her out for her other personality, Lillian Cambridge. Simon begins playing the mental game with Felicia, trying to get her to understand that she was never truly Felicia in those moments, that she was more Lillian than she tried to play off. Upon being faced with the reality that Lillian was once in the position that Chico was in, something changes in her expression and she collapses to the ground, holding her head, and then the game closes. Simon is dead. Most likely because from this point on, we never see him again. Upon starting the game again, both Felicia and Chico are gone from the menu. The music has stopped as well, along with the movements of Mayuka and Annabelle. Starting the game and loading it won't stop the fate of Simon or Chico, but the game isn't over yet. We still have one more person whose fate we have yet to see. Clicking the red folder next to the tab, we get brought back to Sunday, the same day that Simon left to go on his journey to the coordinates. But this time, it's day. Who are we? Well, the third line should give it away. My eyes are wide open, staring at the note on the table. Yeah, we are Annabelle now. Mayuka is actually here too. She notices the note on the table, and you can clearly tell that a million thoughts are running through her head. Because if you remember, this is the exact situation she found herself in before with Lillian. Lillian had left a note on the table telling Mayuka and her parents that she wanted to help, to prove that she was strong enough to have Mayuka rely on her. And just like Lillian, Simon is gone too. She asks Anna what she did, to which it fades to black and Anna wakes up from her nightmare. It is now Tuesday, February 9th, 2016, almost 2 months since Simon went missing, and almost 3 since Chico went missing. It seems that Annabelle is depressed, which definitely makes sense given what she's been through. She can barely go outside, hasn't been going to school much, and Mayuka stays in touch with her and becomes a semi-therapist for her. The only person outside of Mayuka that Annabelle talks to is Felicia, that same Felicia that caused the death of 2 people who mattered most to her. She goes on to state that she still has her old phone, just without the SIM card since the police took that, and what would you know? Felicia gifted her a brand new phone. She was hesitant at first, but with Mayuka's encouragement, Annabelle accepted it. It should be obvious that this is a way to keep tabs on Annabelle, considering that both Chico and Anna's phones were tapped in one way or another, not letting their calls go through to the police during the scene where Annabelle got almost kidnapped. Along with that, the message Anna received thanking her for leading them to Chico was a definite red flag that something was up with her phone. It's a shitty thing to think about. Anna is trapped. Her fate is basically already sealed, just waiting on the one moment to set in. But anyway, Annabelle ends up going to school after hyping herself up to do so. The scene with Anna in school is very bittersweet. On one hand, it's super cute with how everybody is so happy to see her back, but on another hand, she is so much out of her comfort zone that she is almost a shell of herself. Instead of the upbeat, cheeky girl that we've come to love throughout the entirety of the game, she's so much more scared, emotional. It's really sad, but happy since, she's at least going to school. And also, Felicia is here. That bastard. After classes end, Felicia asks Annabelle to hang out, saying that she missed hanging out with her. It's an odd feeling, I will say, because Felicia killed Simon and Chico, that much is certain, and even told Simon that everything that happened between all of them was all fabricated, it was all a lie. But then again, what if it isn't all a lie? Could Felicia genuinely care about Annabelle? Does Lillian have any say in the matter? Or is this all another one of Felicia's acts to get Anna to lower her guard? It's hard to say and it's interesting to think about, but Annabelle accepts Felicia's offer, happy to hang out with someone she cares about. We watch as Felicia takes Anna out to the park. Again, it's a bittersweet feeling seeing this unfold, considering everything we know. The fact that Annabelle has no idea that she is talking to her best friend and boyfriend's killer. But it's also at the same time nice to see Annabelle going outside and trying to move on with her life. But it's cruel. Even more cruel when Felicia leads Annabelle to the same spot to where she confessed to Simon at, where they shared their first kiss, where they truly solidified their feelings for one another. Annabelle can't help but to cry at the emotions flooding back, and Felicia consoles her, holding her in an embrace. A gross feeling, to say the least, to watch as Annabelle is being consoled by a backstabber like Felicia. It gets even worse when the day comes to an end and they walk back together, where we get a very familiar scene. The same alleyway that appeared when Simon was confronted by Felicia and snatched the keychain back from him. And on cue, Annabelle gets a phone call. It's from Mayuka. She seems desperate to get Annabelle to run home as fast as she can, to get out of there. She tells Annabelle that Felicia is one of them, and as the text box changes and everything goes silent, Annabelle turns to look at Felicia, who simply closes her eyes and then opens them back up to reveal once again. The cat-like slits in her eyes appear once more, as if she just completely changed personalities within the blink of an eye. Gone is the Lillian side we've seen up until this point, replaced by the cold gaze of a betrayer. And then, as Felicia steps to the side, Annabelle is met with the feeling of two fangs biting into her once again as she gets tased. The last thing we see before she loses her consciousness is her phone getting smashed. So, Annabelle is next, guys. Who would have thought that Felicia would betray her as well? Hey, I see you at the back there with your hand raised. You knew that? Oh, nice. And as we fade back into consciousness, we awaken to the date, to 2016. Okay, so sometime in 2016, considering that the previous day was February 9th, this is probably the 10th. There's no way she would be out for that long, right? But yeah, Annabelle is now awake, finding herself in a wooden chair, unbound to anything, in a dark room. Standing up, she readies herself to walk before... Who are you? The voice says that they and Anna are gonna become best friends, and wants some kind of response from Anna. I don't think I would respond either if some kind of robotic voice that sounded like Chico tried to talk to me, but when the voice demands for Anna to answer, she musters out a response, giving her name. The voice is happy about that, and says that she loves her red hair, and that they are going to be together forever. Upon Annabelle asking what she means by that, the voice responds by saying they want to be super duper popular and that they want to light up the world, the same line that Chico used during the Idol convention. Whoever or whatever this thing is seems like it has Chico's consciousness attached to it. What could it be that Chico was hooked up to in that room? The voice goes on to say that it wants Anna to help it get popular, and how are they gonna do it? Well, we don't get the answer quite yet, as Anna tries to divert the conversation, saying that she doesn't even know what its name is. To which we get the reveal that the name of the voice is... Ami? For those unaware, the name Ami actually appeared before within Radish ASMR. Again, I'll be relating stuff back to Radish, since the game was made by Radish ASMR, and so I can provide some lore insight on it, so this isn't just strictly a retelling of events of what happens within this game. Anyway, we get Ami mentioned quite a bit within Radish's earlier logs that we've seen within the ARG, mostly consisting of things like the Ami treatment. Before the game came out and the scene was revealed, I'm pretty sure everyone thought AMI, Ami, people thought it was an acronym, AMI. I know for sure that I did, but now we get the name drop of Ami here, so it's really just a name. Whatever this Ami treatment is, seems to be what Chico went through, as the first log dates November 18th, 2015, which goes over an update on a 3-day preliminary examination relating to the Ami treatment. So, what is Ami exactly? Some kind of consciousness that takes bits and pieces from her components to form a new person? Chico is a component. We can clearly see that with how Ami talks like Chico. And Simon might be a component too, but we don't exactly know what happened to Simon after he got shot. But Ami doesn't act exactly like Chico or Simon. Does she? Or does it? I mean, after her comment of saying that she wants to light up the world, she says that she doesn't exactly know what she means by saying that, but it's always been in her head. So she isn't just strictly Chico. So again, what exactly is Ami? It's hard to really say with the information that we have so far, so let's just continue. Annabelle asks how she can help Ami, to which she says that Anna can help with her voice and her mind. It's kind of interesting then that we see Annabelle's voice being used within basically all of Radish's content then, huh? Almost like Ami is using Annabelle's voice to narrate over these ASMR scripts to get popular. Ami states that she is pretty good at Anna's voice and gives an example.
To anyone hearing this, I need you to listen very closely. Some of you have already noticed, others haven't. But what you've been watching isn't what it seems.
If you have no idea why I am freaking out the way I am in this clip, then I will explain. 2 years ago, on December 26th, 2022, Radish ASMR posted a video titled 1000 Transmission. Within that video, we get the same audio of Annabelle talking as you just heard in game, effectively saying that all of the transmission videos we have gotten could be a hoax, fabricated by Ami in her attempts to either throw us off or to sound perfect in her rendition of Annabelle. We have basically been duped. All of this time I said that the transmission videos have been the most confusing part of the ARG, and now it boils down to the fact that they never really had a place to begin with. Are they all fake? I don't know. Anna is just as surprised because after this, she immediately looks for a way out and is just about to before...
Annie, please don't go. Annie, don't you love me?
Ami is completely demented. There is no hope for her. But Anna summons the courage and she runs out of the room, trying to find a way out. And as she pants, sirens start blaring throughout the facility. She hears Ami call out to her in Chico's voice, and before we know it, opens something that feels like a doorway, and... that's it. No dramatic ending, no cinematic shot. Just cuts to black and puts you back in the menu screen with nobody present, leaving you with that feeling of, is that it? And, well, yeah, it kinda is. That's the ending of the game. It leaves you feeling empty, unfulfilled, like you should have seen something to give you closure, or even something that would make you think that was a solid ending to the game, but instead it leaves you sitting in the menu, thinking about what just happened, alone with your own thoughts. That's it. There is no more game. Well, maybe there is more. A small bit more. Here, we will get into the final part of the main game and the biggest spoiler section of the game. The black box ending, also known as the secret ending. Welcome to the secret ending portion of the video, everybody. Glad to see that you made it this far. If you need to stand up and stretch, go do so. If you can't tell, I'm recording this right now about a month since my last recording of it. I'm not gonna lie, guys, I got kind of burned out of everything, but I am back to continue it, so let's just get back into it. But I just want to take a small moment to recap everything that's happened so far, because there is so much content in this game that it's kind of absurd. But to put it bluntly, Simon is dead. Presumably, anyway. Chico is definitely dead. Annabelle is, maybe dead? Again, it's kind of left up in the air with what happens to Annabelle and Simon, since we don't actually get to see their deaths like we do with Chico. And Mayuka, I'm presumably dead, but maybe not. I just say this because I believe that Arison Corporation wouldn't really allow Mayuka to live after the phone call that she had with Annabelle. But who knows? Who knows? If you want to hold on hope, go for it. If there is hope for a better ending, then, maybe Boss and Mayuka will somehow find a way to take down the Arisons, as they are literally the only survivors left in the game that have a chance to do so, aside from Felicia, and, well, unless Lillian doesn't completely take over, it's most likely never gonna happen. Anyway, if you were standing up and stretching, sit back down. Yeah, you. I see you in the back over there. Because we are gonna get started in what is the secret ending of this game. So in order to get this black box to appear on the screen that you are seeing right now, you have to do a list of different things. If you don't do everything, the black box will not show up. Thank you for Blue Mew for figuring out the requirements to do this, because if it was just me, I wouldn't know the criteria to really tell you guys how to get this ending in the first place. But upon clicking the black box, we are met with an unknown date. No month, no day, no year. We wake up in Simon's room and we make our way downstairs as if this whole thing is the most normal thing in the world. And upon seeing the name switch to MC, we see him ask, Sis, are you awake already? So are we Simon? I mean, this is their house. Where is Oh, hello there, red-haired Chico. Or, sister? This is already a lot to take in. Why is Chico's hair red? Why is she here? What the hell is even going on? And as we conversate with our sister and get a bunch of dots and dashes and a whole lot of whack in response, we leave to go to school. Everything moves fast, and before we know it, we're in class. And we hear about MC's best friend, who is apparently also their roommate, and someone who gets jealous when they talk to other girls? Huh? Roommate? This wouldn't happen to be a setup for one of those ASMR videos, is it? Oh, hello, red-eyed Annabelle. Or, friend? What the hell is happening? First MC, then sister, and now friend? Huh? It's Annabelle, but not. The red eyes clearly mean something has changed, but eventually MC asks Anna, or a friend, out to the park because he wants to confess to her. Seems like a typical romance novel or something of the sort. While at the park, MC takes his chance to confess before friend cuts him off. She decides to tell him something first, and what would you know, it's also a confession. But it's weird. For confessions, you don't usually see people crying, let alone crying this much. What's with the sudden build in audio? So things are totally normal. We're not going to acknowledge the fact that Annabelle just reappeared and that this whole thing feels like a simulation. No, why would we? That it just turned out to be nighttime after all this happened. I mean, why would we? There's no point, right? This is totally normal. We aren't also going to acknowledge the Felicia violin song and the... What the hell? A cipher? Oh boy, I wonder what it says. Looks like it's Annabelle's cipher, base 64 plus raw inflate. She won't leave me alone. I can't stop her when she takes control. My head hurts, my head hurts, my head hurts. She hurts me on purpose. So, Annabelle here is saying that she won't leave her alone and that, she hurts her on purpose. Okay, nice. So, who is this she? Well, if it has anything to do with the red eyes we see, it could symbolize control, and it may very well be Ami. After all, she needed Annabelle's help to get popular, right? How can she do so if Annabelle doesn't follow along completely? Anyway, after the cipher appears, Chico, or a sister, pops back up, bringing us back home when it's day again. We get a jingle that is heard a lot throughout Radish ASMR, and one that I will definitely go over in a bit before MC talks to sister about what just happened. He says that it felt weird, since everything seemed fine at first, that something about it felt kind of off before he gets cut off by sister, speaking in actual words this time. She says, "No, it didn't." Then we get 3 different texts. Simon, it was completely 5x. It was a completely, it was a completely normal confession. Nothing to worry about. I know I'm beating a dead bush by saying this so much, but this relates heavily with what we see in Radish ASMR. I won't go over all of it right now, but this just basically confirms that all the codes that we've seen from 5x was actually from Simon. It's a huge revelation, and I got a little excited by it. Just a little bit. Huh? Simon, it was complete. Oh! I was right! Tell me. Getting back to the gameplay, Sister says to us that we can't be acting all nervous anymore before...
Don't forget what happened.
She's not gonna be happy if you don't clean your room.
Don't forget what they did.
Don't do that again.
What they did to us.
Stop!
You have to remember. Don't let them erase it.
He doesn't know you, and you don't know him.
But I do know him. I just can't remember his name.
You have a job to do. As the primary component, it's your job to make sure you control your secondaries. You need to keep Ami safe while she grows. Not upset her. She takes after you the most, after all.
Did someone do something bad to us? Do you know who did this?
You are Ami. He is Ami. And the third is Ami. The three of you together are Ami. Your secondaries are nothing but components. You do not know them. That is all that matters.
And just like that, we are back with Felicia. This time there is no sister or MC, but Ami. She says thank you to her and calls her Big Sis. Felicia, or Big Sis, says that it's time for bed and asks if Ami would like her head rubbed before she goes to sleep. Ami says yes, says that she loves her, to which Big Sis reciprocates, and then it's over. Just like that. It's over. If you are confused about what happened, don't worry. I'll explain it to the best of my ability in the next chapter of this video. But before I do that, I really do have to butt in real quick. Hello, also. This is probably the first time you're seeing me editing Peyturtle from months in the future, but this is probably the last time you're going to see this version of me. But anyway, I just needed to butt in real quick because this section of the secret ending actually did not have voice actors. There is no voicing for this dialogue section that goes on. So just so people don't get confused and so people don't like assume something out of nothing in case that does happen, I'm just going to say the person who voiced Felicia, Mazikin, is not Felicia. She voices Annabelle, not Felicia. She just wanted to, help me out with this. So don't assume that she is Felicia. That's all. And also, shout out Chi for voicing Ami and Chico here. So, back to it, Mead, from however long ago this is at this point. But right now, just soak it all in. This is the ending of the game. The game at this point in time is officially over. No more content, no more endings, left with just a blank paper on the menu with nobody there. What started off as a cute, fun slice of life visual novel turned into one of the most gruesome endings I've seen to a cast in a while. It's not just about the deaths themselves, but the lack of closure that we get to the characters that we have grown to love. And so I think it makes sense to say that this game has a grip on me and has such a hold over me that most games don't have. Maybe it's partly because I've been part of the Radish community for a while now, and this is just an extra bit to add on to my obsession with the ARG, but I don't know. I'm hooked. But with that, let's go over the main reasons I wanted to cover this game in the first place, that being its connections with Radish ASMR. Hello guys, just wanted to pop in real quick. This is editing Peyturtle from like maybe 4 months in the future from when I started the recording of this video. Yeah, it's been that long. I just wanted to tell you before we get into the connections that I'm probably gonna pop in quite a bit throughout this section just because between the time that I recorded this and now there has been quite a few things that have happened with the Radish ASMR channel. Namely, she is now a VTuber.
This potential for this all to be some kind of ploy for Akimi to debut as a Vocaloid producer or a VTuber.
Yeah. So, we'll get to that later. But for now, we're just going to go into the connections that I was talking about in the original recording of this video. I don't think any of it's really off from what goes on now. If anything, what is released right now, currently, kind of just already proves everything that I went over in this anyway. So I'm not going to be really saying anything wrong, but I'm going to be, jumping back in every now and then just to kind of further solidify some points. So other than that, let's just get into this. So, this game obviously has a lot of connections to Radish ASMR, the most obvious being the fact that Annabelle is in both the game and in Radish's lore. Now, let's get into some of the more interesting things that we see between the two of them. First off, let's talk about the secret ending since it's most fresh in our mind. I want to point out that the whole secret ending before we get into the section where Annabelle gains control for a second feels like some kind of fake world scenario or some kind of alternate reality. I think that much is obvious when we see the names of Chico, Simon, and Annabelle are all replaced with straightforward generic title names like Sister, MC, and Friend. And here's the first instance we get of what seems to be a Radish ASMR type of video played out in visual novel format, consisting of talking to your sister, going to school, and getting confessed to by your crush. It's a pretty standard formula for Akemi's videos, so I think that we can say definitively that this section is mostly about Ami creating this simulated world as a sort of play on reality, a test run, if you will. What Ami gains from doing all this stuff is unknown. It's hard to really tell why she is using ASMR or false realities as a medium for telling a story, but I'm sure it has to do partly with how Ami is formed of multiple people, and she just so happens to think that this is the most beneficial way for her to get popular. But anyway, let's move on to Chico and Annabelle. There are two notable differences with how they appear, mainly Chico's red hair and Annabelle's red eyes. The color red has been somewhat important within Radish ASMR. We have seen many times in the videos where a character's hair in the thumbnail turns red when things go down, and we have also seen times where the thumbnail character's eyes turn red. This doesn't even mention the fact that Annabelle was running from whatever that thing was, whose light beam was red. So why is red so prevalent? Prevalent? How do you say it? Prevalent? So why is red so prevalent? Prevalent? Am I saying that right? Why is it so important? That's what I'm trying to say if I'm not saying that word right. Well, here is where we get into the big connections with what we see in the secret ending and what we see in Radish ASMR's lore. First, let's check out Akemi herself, the creator of Radish ASMR. Hello once again. Okay, I feel like I need to butt in here real quick because like I said before, Akemi kind of rebranded herself as a VTuber. She's not necessarily a full-on VTuber, but she has a new brand now. And with that came a new design. This is what her old design looked like, and now this is what her new design looks like. What I'm getting at will still, make sense with the connections that I'm making with it. I don't know what the blue is for with her design now. I don't know. Could symbolize Sakura, because Sakura is now linked with blue, but I think anyway. But I don't know. I don't know what the blue is. The blue is completely aside from whatever is going on with this connection that I'm making anyway. So yeah, just focus on the red, okay, not the blue. If anything sticks out to you right off the bat, it should be the fact that she has red hair and red eyes, just like how Chico and Annabelle did within the secret ending. And here is where I throw my hat into the ring. About 9 or so months ago, I uploaded my second Radish ASMR video and it covered the demo of Kimochii Classroom. Basically all of Act 1 that you saw earlier in this video. But what stood out to me the most was Chico herself. Here is why. Akemi has a casting call club page, which is a website used to contact voice actors for work, and she has herself listed as a singer, music composer, and a producer. Throughout all of Kimochii Classroom, we see how Chico follows in the steps to become an idol, making her own music, band, singing well, even with the saying how she wants to light up the world. Akemi has submissions within her casting call page that are all related to music in one way or another, and some even feature idol terminology. So clearly there is some kind of connection between how Akemi and Chico operate, considering how closely they follow one another. Within the game, we see in the secret ending that Felicia tells Chico, supposedly, that Ami consists of 3 parts, the primary and the secondaries. The primary being Chico and the secondaries being Annabelle and Simon. We can see this described in more detail in some of Radish ASMR's lore within 3 videos from the 10 failures. If you remember from Act 2, I went over a massive lore drop with a boss talking about Mayuka's backstory. In that backstory, 2 notable names were brought up, Mayuka's mother, Olivia, and Mayuka's aunt, Mariah. These 2 people are part of the 10 failures, like I mentioned before. And now I'll show you more on how they relate back to Kimochii Classroom as a group. The first video that I want to go over is from J. Tristan, where the text says, "I am Sakura, but Sakura is not my name. In many ways, I am also Akemi, but Akemi is not me." So Sakura is not the name of the person who is talking, as if they had a name before, but it got replaced by the name Sakura, and that they are like Akemi. This is basically just to show that who is talking here within these videos is Sakura. Moving on, let's look at this video from H. Hans, where it says, unlike Annabelle, inside Akemi, mine and 5X's names are lost to us. For all three of us, our memories are incomplete. There are pieces missing and details that are blocked. But we remember enough. I remember enough. They weren't as thorough as they thought. Interesting to note that Annabelle is the only name that Akemi remembers, as if something external to Akemi blocked out Sakura and 5X's name. It kind of makes me think back to what we saw with how Sister said Simon's name in the secret ending before it got changed to 5X, before settling on Bro, and how Felicia told Chico that she didn't know who 5X was, even though she did, but just couldn't remember their name. So, some kind of memory blocking is going on here. That or can relate back to what we saw with the keychain bit within the beginning of Act 2, which went over the reconstruction procedure, a process for erasing ideas, identities. If identities, it can make sense why Sakura would be this aware of what's going on, with her saying they weren't as thorough as they thought. But moving on to the last video that I want to look at, we check out K. Mariah's video saying, there are 3 components that make Akemi, 3 people, 3 rootlings. Annabelle and 5X are the secondary components. I am the primary root link. In a nutshell, this basically just confirms everything that Felicia just said, along with the statement that Sakura, the one who is talking, is the primary root link. If all 3 components are root links and Sakura is the primary root link, that would, by proxy, make her the primary component. And who just so happens to be the primary component? Chico. And what did Felicia say to Chico? That Ami takes after her the most. And who does Akemi take after the most? Chico. All that to say that Ami is Akemi before Akemi became who she is now. Why Ami is now named Akemi is up to interpretation though. A good amount of people suspect that it's to make her more popular. I honestly kind of agree with it. I would rather follow someone named Akemi than Ami, but that might just be me. But anyway, if you need more Ami and Akemi connections, you can look no further than at the very end of the secret ending where Ami calls Felicia Big Sis. Now that might not mean much in terms of the video game, but we've actually been getting a series of videos from Akemi on her channel which features her in this white space area along with Annabelle. Now this is something that seems to have been going on for a bit now because Annabelle seems genuinely defeated in this area. I will definitely go over this stuff a lot more in my next Radish video, but for now, we are gonna look at this section of their white space journey specifically. Akemi here sees a big floaty eyeball in the sky who makes everything go black with the symbol in her eye slowly fading in. And then we get a code from Akemi saying, "Hi, big sis, it's been a while." And if you remember when Chico was talking to Felicia in the secret ending and asked the question, "Do you know who did this?" Felicia's eyes open and the exact same symbol pops up in her eye. The only time we see the symbol ever in the game, apart from, would you know, the notebook flip in the trailer which shows the symbol right next to Felicia. Boo! Did I scare you? I'm back. So I just wanted to jump in real quick just because this point is basically 100% confirmed. Radish actually posted a video recently, or actually I don't know how much recently from right now, but the title of it is "My Big Sister is So Cute." So yeah, this basically just confirms that Akemi is Ami, but just a more grown-up version of Ami. So yeah, kind of makes me a little sad to see that this was proven true like so easily rather than just, you know, having it up in the air. But the video is insanely good. If you haven't seen this animation yet, please go see it. It is so cool. It's probably the best video on the channel. So yeah, let's get back to it. So Felicia is this big sis character, and Ami is a younger version of Akemi. The secret ending within Kimochii Classroom isn't just some side story, but it's a deliberate bridge into the Radish ASMR lore. Ami being Akemi's earlier form, Chico being Akemi's root identity, and Felicia being the big sis that she interacts with. And this doesn't even cover the whole beef that Akemi and Sakura are having now. Akemi literally told Annabelle to kill herself with one of the transmission videos that we got. I think this clip perfectly surmises their relationship. But since we are still on the topic of Ami and Chico, I want to quickly take a look at the logs we've seen throughout all of Radish's lore. The first log was written on November 18th, 2015, 4 days after Chico's capture, and goes on until December 1st, 2015, before jumping all the way to October 13th, 2021, with the now name Akemi being featured rather than the name Patient in the other logs. I've gone over these logs before in heavy detail in my last 2 videos on Radish ASMR, so if you're interested to hear more about what they're actually about, I would direct you to those videos. Might even be better to listen to now with all the knowledge that we have in the game, since actually, honestly, looking back at it, it makes me feel much worse with what happened to Chico. So maybe don't, if you don't want to get more depressed about it all, because it kind of just goes on to talk about what happened to Chico during her disappearance in the game. But again, I'll be covering this stuff in more detail whenever I do my next Radish video. Hold on a sec. You know what I just thought of? Okay, so I just re-looked at the logs, and there is something a lot more interesting that I never really thought of before, and that's that now that we know that Chico is Sakura, we can see that at the beginning of most of these videos that got released, that being the videos on the side channels that give out logs, are all released by Sakura. You can see at the beginning of the video it says, "Welcome Sakura." That is for most of these that is for all of these logs before 2021, which is important because if you don't know, or if I didn't say it yet, hey guys, it's 3 in the morning. My brain is fried, but I'm so like, this is making me so much more invested in Radish again. But if you don't know, in 2021 and onwards within these logs, the patient that's being referred to in the log now has the name Akemi. But the interesting thing is these logs aren't being submitted, or they aren't being publicized by Sakura. There is no transmission, whatever it's called, "Welcome Sakura." You see none of that. There is only one instance of that ever happening within this time in relation to Akemi, and that doesn't even say her name. It's literally just like this one thing on Twitter that goes over, is her activity levels good? And I don't even know, that feels more to me like, because at the time it really just felt like, hey, Radish is still doing stuff, guys, don't worry about it. Let's just upload something to the side channel, because literally everything else apart from that video does not feature the "Welcome Sakura" tag like it does for the patient logs. So there's definitely a difference between what we see within the patient logs versus the Akemi logs, because the Akemi logs are not uploaded by Sakura. It's someone else. At least that's what it seems like. It could still be Sakura, but the mediums that these Akemi logs are being posted in just don't fit for the "Welcome Sakura" tag, because they're not all on the side channels. So that could be it, because like, for example, one of them is in the description of a YouTube video, another is at the end of a Radish YouTube video. So I don't know. I just thought it was interesting, and I wanted to put that up there before I continue rambling on this point, because I thought that was just interesting to think about. Other than everything that I've already covered, there is one more thing that I can think about that relates back to Radish ASMR, the transmission videos. Within Radish ASMR, we've been getting these transmission videos for some time now, all having Annabelle narrate over something that's going on. I've talked about it before, but a section of audio within Transmission 3000 is straight up just ripped out of what Annabelle says while talking to Simon after their little confession. Not only that, but when Ami talks to Annabelle and demonstrates her ability to use her voice, she says a line that is ripped right out of the beginning of the first ever transmission video uploaded to the channel. So what does it all mean? Are these transmission videos even real? Is Annabelle even the one talking in these videos? Or are the transmission videos some kind of way for Akemi to try out Annabelle's voice? It's hard to say, considering that the audio from Transmission 3000 is the exact same thing as what Annabelle said during that part. So is Akemi just trying to use her voice and her memories to make these transmissions? Again, it's really just, it's hard to say. The transmission videos have always been the most confusing aspect of the ARG, and now I don't even know what to think about them. But yeah, it just leaves everything hanging in the air with, there's so many floating pieces surrounding the series, even still, with everything that we've learned from Kimochii Classroom's game. And the transmission videos are just, they're like it's a confusing mess within the series that we don't really have a true answer for the transmission videos. Could they all be fake? Sure. If you want to believe that, go for it. Can some of it be based off Annabelle's memories, with Ami using those memories to form something different? I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say. And I feel like I've said that so many times now. But yeah, those are all the connections that I could think of relating back to Radish ASMR. I'll be making a more in-depth video about Radish ASMR as a whole once again in the future. So if you're interested, you can always subscribe or just come back every few months to see if I uploaded anything. But with that out of the way, let's get into my closing remarks. Welcome to the end of my video. I gotta do this with current me so it feels more up to date. If you made it here, thank you. I know that this was another long video, but guys, I swear, you gotta believe me, I planned for this video to be like 50 minutes long max. But I guess I really can't seem to make shorter scripts. I know a decent amount of people were really waiting on me to upload another video, so I hope this was worth the wait. This video isn't really a part 3 to my Radish ASMR coverage, if you can tell, more so just explaining what happens within Kimochii Classroom, along with its relations back into Radish ASMR's ARG. If you are disappointed in that at all, I'm sorry. I just haven't seen a reason to really update it and make a part 3 at the moment, but if you want to see more coverage on it, I would direct you to a video from Captain Plays Everything where he goes over Radish's ARG, more updated than my last video does. So if you're craving more Radish content, I would recommend checking that video out. I love seeing more people create content surrounding Radish, so if you are, please reach out to me because I'd love to look at it. I would love to cover Radish again, but it's probably not going to be until a while in the future when something a lot more groundbreaking happens. Look guys, I know that she is now like a VTuber, but I really don't see all this stuff right now as reason enough for me to kind of make a new video on it. I know there's a lot more lore and everything, but I don't know, I just don't see it. The game itself felt groundbreaking enough, in my opinion, to even make another video on Radish to begin with. But yeah, shout out to everybody who made it to the end of this video, and a very, very special shout out to Olivia, or Chi, in the Radish Investigation Bureau Discord server for providing the amazing art used in the Mayuka backstory section of this video. I really wanted to include the community for this video, and what better way than to have one of the most talented people within the server contribute to this project. She has been making art of the game since it came out, basically, and I really am happy to showcase her work here because she is a phenomenal artist. And along with that, I was honored to have Mazikeen voice the beginning section of this video with the skit. I thought she would be a perfect fit for it, and I'm glad that she could be a part of this. It seriously means a lot to me that I'm in a position where I can involve a lot more of the community and show my love to everyone just as they have done to me. So please go show Olivia and Mazikeen some love, as I mean, they really deserve it. Other than that, I of course have to thank Akemi and her team for making such an amazing game in ARG that I love dearly. I hope that one day we can do some kind of sit-down interview with Akemi to talk about really everything that happened with this ARG's conception and general thoughts about how it would play out. I think that'd be something huge for the community, but not one that I would expect to happen. One could dream, anyway. Aside from all that, though, this video has been going on for far too long, so until a year from now, everybody, whenever I decide to make my next video.
Stop! I can't get this right.
Look at that. Oh my god, she's so fast.
Rice shower?
Rice shower.
What is she?
A horse.
You piece of shit!
What does the caption say?
It says, rubbing like a fly. Doing like one of these.
As the primary component, it's your... Lucy, this damn cat...
Hide the HUD.
So now you can look at her even more?
Dude. Look at her. Is she like mommy? That's
Why?
what
'Cause you
people.
wanna be
Hey, that's
daddy?
just what. No, that's just what people call her.
You want to be daddy, don't you?
No, maybe.